From the sidelines to the state title, he's the heart of the Bulldogs, the mind behind the game plan, and the face of Kearney football, Coach Logan Minnick. And now, get ready for insight, highlights, and a look at what's ahead for your Kearney Bulldogs from the Bulldog Radio Network team. It's your all-access pass to Bulldog football. This is the Coach Minnick Show.
All right, welcome to the Coach Minnick Show. I'm your host, Mike Davis, along with producer-engineer Brian Watts. And guess who's here? Eric Stevens, yes.
Hi.
Yes, it's great to see you here, and this will be fun. And Coach Minnick, yes, the namesake of the show. Coach, before we get started, I wanted to mention we give shout-outs periodically to people, and one that I would like to shout out on this show, because I'm not sure we have before, is Monica Watts. That's right. She is, actually, Brian is famous because Monica is famous. And why is she famous? Because Monica stays back in the studio here at the station and monitors the games, sits here all by herself. She's got a little knitting kit, and she's back there knitting and just quietly sitting while we're broadcasting football games. I could not be more thankful to her and for all that she does for the station and for the games.
Yeah, absolutely. She's always there for all the games we broadcast as well. So big shout out to Monica, and thank you very much.
There you go. All right, Coach. Big game, a big win last week. It was 24-0 over the Savannah Savages, and as it turned out, maybe not so much. And we had a great time with the shutout, knowing, by the way, we were to learn afterwards that was the only shutout in the bracket that week in the Sweet 16. The Savages, a top 2 team in Class 4, and we talked about it a little bit after the game last week. The shutout was huge, and I think it made a big statement. You and I talked about it, but let's just once more. I want to hear your thoughts on how important that was, and then kind of the statement that it made.
Yeah, well, obviously, anytime you can hold anybody to zero, you're going to win a lot of football games that way. But no, just so proud of our kids' effort, because we knew it was one of those games where it was a bunch of 10-yard at a time games built into a game. Like, that kind of offense they run, if they get 4 or 5 yards on a play, they're probably going to get a first down just because they are a 3 yards in cloud of dust type team. So, we had to I loved our defensive mindset and mentality of if they did happen to get a first down, they reset their minds, they reset their brains, and they try to win that next 10-yard game, because that's what that whole game was, is just a breakdown of making sure they don't get 10 yards. And then thought we did a really good job of playing really good red zone defense or backed up defense when they did start to get it down there. Obviously, several huge fourth down stops. We really like it when a 3-yard and cloud of dust team likes to throw fade balls on 4th and 1. Thank you for that. And then, so again, anytime you pitch a shutout, but you pitch a shutout in the district championship against a team that's averaging 43 points a game, that's a phenomenal effort by our kids, and it was one of those things where we were locked in all week in practice, and we talked about that. It just correlates into, the execution on Fridays.
Huge respect, by the way, for the Savannah team. Just great, well coached, and lots of great athletes, and they had a wonderful, terrific season. Corbin Emmons, however, I think ruined their evening very early on with a 55-yard run for a touchdown, and he would continue Friday night to become our player of the game. But just a terrific evening, and it sort of surprised me from the standpoint of that. Why hasn't he been our player of the game sooner than this?
Right.
Well, it's not that he had bad games or anything. It's just that this one was really such a standout. And but just terrific seeing how well he played, and behind that unbelievable offensive line you have.
Yeah, and Corbin would be the first one to give a shout out to those guys up front. They opened several holes, and he's really electric when he gets the football, and we are unbelievably blessed to have a 3- and 4-headed monster back there. When you add Carter into it, of at any time, at any point, anyone can have a breakout game back there. The week before, Matt Lindsay goes for 4 touchdowns. Last week it was Corbin going that way, and then Dryden's been phenomenal all year. So it's just, it's one of those things where it just happened on, the plays that Corbin got it. We got loose on some of those, and, the kids were calling him playoff Emmons or whatever. And, he's been a kid. Think about he started in a state championship as a sophomore, so he played all those games as a sophomore. He's almost played an entire season of what a normal person would have in playoff games.
Right.
So super experienced. The moment's not ever going to be too big for him, and he's been in that moment now 3 times in his career.
We were talking off the air, Eric. You had mentioned about all this stable of running backs we have.
Yeah, Coach. So it's quite a luxury to have that stable back there. As you mentioned, those 3, and you have a quarterback that anytime, even on a pass play, he can tuck and run and gain big yardage. So from a coaching perspective, I mean, as I said, it's a luxury. How do you determine who's going to get the ball? Is it just who's hot, or is it you see something scheme-wise, or?
Really, to be honest with you, it's pretty crazy going into the game with as advanced as Carter is this year. We have a lot of stuff we check at the line of scrimmage. So when we get out there in our 3-back stuff, he may have a call that's just option check on his band. So it may go left, it may go right. We may run inside veer or outside veer. So as a coach, I'm not 100% sure who's getting it on several of those plays. Or like when we run our power running game and some of that stuff, he's checking to whichever gap we want open that week. So even when we're in 2-back, I'm not sure which one's going to get it on a lot of the check with me stuff. So that's what I mean. It's just we've got 3 backs that are unbelievable, and at any point, like there could be a game where Dryden had 15 carries and the other 2 only have 2, and we didn't call the offense any different. So as you said, very blessed to have that kind of ability, and then defensively it makes it really hard for you to defend us because you don't know which guy's going to get it, and I think we still do a really good job of being balanced, where it's usually somebody's got 8, somebody has 6, somebody's got 5, or 3 guys with 10 carries. So we do a good job of spreading it around.
Corbin has, he started out a really good runner, and you can see it in his younger brother right now. He's just got that. You can tell he's got that Corbin blood, that running blood. That he is able to run hard but make cuts.
Right.
And but one other thing about Corbin that I'm noticing this year, I think maybe even more so than last year, he seems, and I'm going to guess he is stronger than he was as junior.
For sure.
Is just so fast, and it seems his ability to keep running with guys draped all over him and to keep moving that ball downfield. And it's just so incredible to me that he's able to do a thing like that.
Yeah, that that run he had 2 weeks ago where it looked like he should have fallen down or fallen forward 3 different times, and he sticks the hand down. That was one of the more impressive runs we've had, and he has great balance and great vision, and as you said, he likes to run through tackles. And he's fresh. He had we called it a little vacation there in the middle of the season where he was out 3 or 4 weeks there. So he's got a little extra tread on the tires here as well for this playoff run. But yeah, so proud of him. So proud of all 3 of those backs back there being, because I guarantee you every one of them wants it 25 times a game, but they're more concerned with, the team winning and those kind of things that, now, they may say it behind closed doors and not tell me that they want it more or whatever, but they're just so unselfish, and they block for each other, and we talk about that all the time, how well our running backs block. Right. So it's just a very unselfish group of backs back there that are all super talented.
And speaking of blocking, your offensive line did an amazing job, I thought, opening up some of those holes against a very stout defense from Savannah. I know I saw JD and Nick a couple times just blowing them up.
Yep.
Tell me a little bit about, was there anything specifically you had to scheme for Savannah or offensive line had to do to open some of those great big holes?
Yeah, it was a huge week on they had 2 of the best inside linebackers we think we've seen all year, and there's 2 of them in there. They make so many plays on run-throughs, so the offensive line had to do a great job of not only getting movement at the point of attack, but having their eyes up for those linebackers, and I thought they were phenomenal at that. I think the only things that really got us behind the sticks all night were several holding penalties, and I can live with holding penalties because those are effort penalties where you're trying to get after people. Now if it becomes a problem, you've got to fix it, but it's just one of those things. We hadn't really been called for holds all year, and now they were calling it both ways, so they were just kind of a touchier crew on that, and that's something you got to make an adjustment when those kind of things happen. But yeah, as you said, and we knew with the style of offense they run and our style of offense, possessions were going to be limited in the game as well. So I was so happy we came out early and went down and scored on our first 2 drives because that's a team. Savannah's not built very well to play from behind, and we knew if they get the lead, that falls right into the kind of game they want to play. And so that's why I thought about going for the 4th down early in the game when we were about the 5-yard line, but I knew 2 scores was huge at that point with as limited as possessions were. And it was like the game got over, and I was like, it's like 8:35 or whatever it was. And you don't expect that in a running clock type game. It was just like, wow, both teams just pounded the ball at each other, and we got out of there.
Carter Temple was 7 of 9 for 124 yards, and if that's efficient. It didn't take a lot of passing,
right?
But still pretty impressive. The 124 are impressive. Let's talk about Carter first, and then I want to talk about the long one that he threw to Drew Nelson.
Gotcha.
That was a key play. But let's talk about Temple first.
Yeah, unbelievably efficient. We didn't ask him to throw it a bunch, and then especially once we got up 17 and we knew we were up 3 scores, my mindset was we were going to slow this game way down. I think you guys probably saw it. We were snapping the ball under 10 seconds. It was time to eat that clock and get out of there. So we knew if we got to the 4th quarter with a 3-score lead, they probably weren't going to get 3 possessions in the 4th quarter. So he did a great job. And again, probably 80% of the run plays we called were all check with me. So Carter's running all of that based on the defense and where they align and what we like in our game plan. So, the numbers may not show up like he didn't run it much. He only threw 9 passes, but he was the man behind the curtain there, pulling all the strings running the offense.
Good to see. And then, of course, the long one to Drew Nelson, who has been, I fairly gush about his skills because Drew Nelson is just one of those guys that he finds ways of getting open, and as a tight end, that he can block downfield, he can block at the line of scrimmage, he could pass protect. But man, when he finds an open spot in the field, I rarely have any doubt if that ball's thrown anywhere near him, he's going to catch it. But this time, he caught it and he ran some.
Right, and that's a play you guys have seen probably 4 or 5 times this year. It's our Y throwback play, and it's a really good play against super aggressive defenses because they want to run to the ball. And so we thought all week in a big moment we'd be able to sneak him out the back door, and just perfect execution by him because he ended up, the defensive lineman came off and was almost under it, so he ran it just a hair deeper. Carter put it right over the top, so that was 2 kids adjusting and making a play there as well. And then, man, he looked fast when he got it.
I know.
It's like, who's that kid running down the sideline and he breaks the tackle? It's like, I don't know who this kid is. Yeah. But, yeah, huge play in that moment, and I know I'm sure Jim was up there. I told you we're going to score in the last minute and a half of the half like we normally do. But yeah, that was huge in that moment because at that point it's 10-0. You go in, you score right before half to go up 3 scores. Huge momentum play. Great play by Drew and Carter on that for sure.
Yeah, and that was definitely a dagger, I would say, that the Bulldogs definitely threw at the Savages there. And, you're up 3 scores going into half. They've got to do some adjustments now coming out of halftime and get away from what they like to do. And Coach, I'll say your defense. I'm going to go back to your defense again. Yeah. Just continue to execute there in the second half. You look kind of like maybe you played a little chess game with Savannah this past game. Started out, I saw the Beaver brothers were what I'm going to say were at defensive end in the first half. Right. Then the second half, it felt like maybe you switched them around. Tell me, did you make some adjustments there at half? And I kind of like that if we can continue to do that.
Yeah. Well, obviously, when you have those 2 brothers, they're phenomenal football players, and teams are going to try to game plan around those guys. And when we had one at nose and we had one at end, you could at least try to run away from them to the other way. Now, you don't have a lot of success with that either because you've got Grant Bogert and Lane Cooker and Cowan back now are playing phenomenal as well. So you can run away from the Beavers, but we got other kids that can play as well. But we knew with as balanced as they were right and left offensively that's what they would attempt to do is try to run away from those guys. So we just said, you know what, this week we're going to put them right on top of the tackles, let them get after those tackles and make the ball either hit immediately down into A-gap where Ariano's sitting waiting, or make it bounce. And we knew, with the exception of number 3 for those guys, they weren't a real elite offensive speed team. So we wanted to make 9 run sideways. And, he's a big bull quarterback, but if you get him running sideways, he's a lot easier to tackle, and he's not gaining yards, just off the momentum of him being a big, strong kid.
And I'd mentioned to Mike before we got on the air, it seemed like there was a player or two, like Aiden Ariano was just shot out of a cannon, and he met the ball carrier in a backfield. And you're right. I'm assuming that all happened up front with your defensive line, making that hole so he could bust right through and get to it.
Yep, for sure. The Beavers are going to get tripled and double teamed all the time, which frees Aiden up a lot. And then he's just a phenomenal football player as well. Like, we were a little bit susceptible to jet sweep with the way we were running defense. And both times they ran it, he runs through everybody and makes it for a no-gainer coming from the Mike linebacker. And that just showed off how elusive and how fast he really is to run that thing down for no gain.
So in that same conversation, Eric, that we had earlier, we were talking about how last year Grant Nolan was such a powerful guy, a tackler, and coming in from the safety position, had all kinds of speed, athletic ability. And Theo Grace was one of those guys that maybe a once in a lifetime linebacker for a coach, for anybody. But I was beginning to think that perhaps Ariano might be the hybrid between those two guys.
Yeah.
If you could look at the best of both of those two guys, and man, that's saying something, because I can remember you saying that, wow, I don't know how we're going to replace Grant Nolan.
Right.
And you didn't say it on the air, but I went like this. It scares me. And what are we going to do now, Coach? And no, we did it. In fact, we might have partially replaced both of those guys with one guy. And that's saying something.
Right.
It might be a little hyperbolic, but I'm just saying, every game, I watch Aiden Ariano just come and just ruin somebody's evening.
Yeah, and I think you're spot on with that comparison. I haven't heard that, but he is kind of like we took Theo and Grant and put them together, and Aiden would be the first to even just be so happy to be even mentioned in the same sentence with those two players, as phenomenal as they were. But yeah, for sure, he is that hybrid type, linebacker type box player. Now he's played a lot of inside linebacker for us this year, just because we know how well he runs, and it's built. The defense is built for him to play that way. But yeah, somebody would be very fortunate to have him at the next level, and that hybrid, box safety type role, because he can play anywhere. He can man cover. He can play on the line of scrimmage. So just a phenomenal football player that's super physical, and we're unbelievably blessed that he's just a junior, so we get him back next year as well.
He loves to hit too,
right?
And that, like Theo and Grant. All right, let's take a quick break. I can't believe it's break time already. Stay with us. You're listening to or watching the Coach Minnick Show. We're going to talk more about an upcoming playoff game down in Warrensburg, Missouri, folks. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the
Dings, dents, or a full-on fender bender. When life happens to your car, you can trust the team that's been fixing it right for over 40 years. At CarStar Porter's Kearney Body Shop, expert collision repair, precision paint matching, and detailing come standard, with customer care that goes the extra mile. CarStar Porter's Kearney Body Shop, 816-628-5621, or you can stop in for a repair estimate at 104 West Main Street in Kearney. CarStar Porter's Kearney Body Shop, where your car gets the care it deserves.
The air you breathe inside your home plays a critical role in your overall health and wellness. Harmful contaminants like asbestos, lead, and mold are hidden hazards that can be lurking in your home or office. Since 2013, the indoor air quality experts at EcoSafe Environmental Services have been detecting and eliminating harmful contaminants, improving indoor air quality, and creating safe, healthy living spaces. You can learn more at 816-598-4111
or at ecosafekc.com. You deserve a healthy home. Stay safe with EcoSafe.
Reagan National Airport outside Washington, D.C. were shut down for hours tonight. It comes after American Airlines says a plane blew out several tires after landing.
Flight 1551 blew one of its tires during takeoff.
4 tires blew out.
A disabled aircraft on the runway can easily shift from a simple inconvenience to an airport operations nightmare. The unfortunate outcome can often lead to a complete airport closure and, in some cases, significant airport financial losses. The solution is easy: Planesgate. Planesgate was designed as a simple, innovative method of removing disabled aircraft from your runway, quickly, safely, and efficiently. Planesgate is manufactured for both civilian and military aircraft. The sturdy design makes quick work of moving everything from corporate jets, turboprops, large, medium, and small piston twins, and almost every single-engine aircraft, including tailwheel and warbirds. Planesgate is extremely versatile and easy to use on multiple airport surfaces. Planesgate traverses large runway cracks, sand, dirt, and gravel with ease. Potholes, ice, snow, and grass are no challenge to Planesgate's mobility. And best of all, in most cases, you can clear a runway in less than 15 minutes with Planesgate. Now that's a game changer that'll keep your runway open. Discover more about keeping your airport operations running smoothly. Visit Planesgate.com and keep that runway open.
Hey, Outlaw Jim here to tell you about Nextran GMC. Are you tired of confusing prices with advertised rebates that you don't qualify for? And what are all those extra fees added on at the end? At Nextran GMC, they believe buying your next vehicle should be simple and straightforward. Their transparent buying process is designed to save you time and money with no surprises. It's easy, it's honest, and it's all for you. Visit them at nextrangmc.com or take a short drive on 435. They don't just look different than other dealers, they are.
Every minute of every day, we reach your audience on air, online, and in more places than any other media. Prime Broadcast Group. Exactly where you need to be.
Kelly Gentry here from Kearney High School. Kearney defeats Savannah 24-0 to win the district championship here in District 8, joined by senior defensive lineman Mason Beaver. And Mason, first of all, just wanted to ask you, how does it feel to put another banner up in the high school and be a district champion?
I mean, that's awesome. Like, we had an awesome week of practice and film. Like, I probably had like 8 hours of film. Like, so, yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you, this was the #1 versus #2 ranked teams here in the state. We were talking a little bit off camera. Did you think about that very much, or was it just the next team up?
You know, I mean, I just watched the film and just like, I just knew what I had to do, so I didn't really think about that.
Didn't think about that much. I tell you, one thing that we noticed tonight is you guys showing some versatility, a little bit different scheme, moving you and your brother both to the outside tonight on the line. Talk to us a little bit about that and what you were able to do.
Yeah, so we're both in 4s, and like the plan was to just condense the pocket so much that they couldn't run and had to bounce, and just let the outside linebackers make every single play. So.
Well,
yeah.
You guys were taking on a lot of, it worked yep. Tonight. They were averaging 42 points a game coming into tonight, scored 0 tonight. So talk to us a little bit about the defensive performance that you and the entire defense put up on the #2 ranked team in the state.
Yeah, I mean, our team was like really physical, just like, when I was running to the ball, I just like saw big hit after big hit. So, I mean, we just didn't let up on these guys, and just glad we got the win.
It was a physical game tonight. One of the things that I just loved, we had a twin tackle for a sack here to almost end the game between you and your brother. Talk to us a little bit about that. Kind of a cool moment to finish this game.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, I don't know if I can put it on my highlight tape or not, because, I mean, he probably got there first, but yeah, so we'll see. We'll see.
Well, you'll both take credit for it. So, well, congratulations on a tremendous year. Kearney moving on, headed to play at Warrensburg for the state quarterfinals next Saturday. Kelly Gentry here with Mason Beaver as Kearney wins the district title.
All right, welcome back to the Coach Minnick Show. That is a terrific interview. Great job, Mason. And I did want real quickly, Brian. Let's put the camera card up of Corbin Emmons, who's our breakout player of the game last week. And look at that guy. He doesn't look all that mean, does he? I don't think so. My goodness, you don't want that guy coming at you, though. I mean, that's a player right there. Congratulations, Corbin. Terrific job in the game last week. Getting back to Mason Beaver, however, number one, what a great interview. And I felt like he was tipping his hand a little bit, describing the defense that you guys schemed up. And yet it's like, yeah, no, that's all going to be on film, so other teams are just going to have to try and stop it. But I love what he said. Let's talk about the scheme.
Yeah, and we talked about it earlier, and I thought, you can tell that our kids listen and they are coached up, because he said our job this week was to condense everything and make the ball bounce, and that's exactly what we said earlier. If we knew they were a downhill team, and if they got their shoulder pads going downhill, they were going to get the 4 and 5 yards they wanted. So we definitely were attempting to make that ball bounce and run sideways, and I thought they did a great job with it. And, I thought those two, with the inclusion of Clay and Bogert and Cook at nose, which those guys hadn't played much nose at all, but when you're getting after teams, because we ran a 3-man front all night, and when those three are getting after people like that and allowing the linebackers to run, and I thought he said it great as well, I thought we were super physical, and I thought our linebackers, when they got there, it was like bombs were going off, like shoulder pads are popping kind of defense. And, my dad's on the sideline all our games. He goes, that's the most physical I think I've seen from the linebackers and the secondary coming down and putting their pads on people. And I thought that was something we challenged our kids all week, because we knew Savannah wanted to be, a mirror image of Kearney and be physical and play great defense and do those things. And our kids kind of got a little edge out of that of, we'll show them who can be physical and who can. And Stevens even said, Brad Dahl getting into the mix and throwing the pads. I'm like, who is that kid? Huge hit in that game.
Buddy. And
what I loved about it, it was a huge hit, but it was also 100% legal in the way it's coached. He leads with the shoulder. He hits him midsection. So I was nervous, because you never know the officials. Anytime there's a big hit, they like to throw those flags, but I'm glad they officiated correctly, and I'm glad Brad did it the correct way to, where you can still have big hits in football.
Yes.
But we've got to be safe with today's rules, and I thought Brad executed that perfectly.
Absolutely right, and we just all erupted in the booth when he made that play. Brad Dahl timed from the cornerback position. Great coverage skills. We've seen that. But wow, we have not seen him just absolutely light the receiver up. And what made that so spectacular, above and beyond the actual pounding that he put on that poor kid, was, and completely legal, was the fact that he timed it so perfectly that there was no way that any official anywhere wearing stripes could throw a flag on it, and yet it might have been that might have been at least the runner-up for play of the game, simply because it was just so much fun to watch.
Yep.
But absolutely right on the defense.
Yeah, and on that play by Brad, Coach, is that instinct that he just has built, or had you seen something similar that he'd watched enough film this week? Because as Mike mentioned, it seemed the minute the quarterback let loose of that ball, Brad knew right where it was going, and he did nothing but make a stick right there.
Yeah, there's definitely some instinct involved with that, and he just has to be super disciplined with his eyes, and we knew we had seen that play, so it was a play we had repped, in practice, and he picked it a couple times during practice, and so he was definitely out of that set, and in that point in the game, he kind of, anticipated there's about 5 plays they can run here, with that being one of them. So yeah, that's a huge shout out to Brad of of doing his film study and understanding what the situation is and doing his job, because we were running cover 2 on that. So if he gets an out, he's going to go take that thing. But a lot of times in the moment they'll get their eyes wrong, and we're late on that out route, and he timed it up perfectly, as you said.
You know, you can talk about scheming up a defense and having a great idea for an opposing team, but you got to execute.
100%.
And that's what we game after game, week after week this year. That's what we're seeing. I have my copy of the Backus report from Coach Backus. Every week he does this really fun little write-up. And he talks about all these linemen on defense: Clay Cowan, Grant Bogert, Lane Cook, Mason Beaver, Isaac Beaver, and he mentions that they did the dirty work in the trenches and defeating double teams, resetting the line of scrimmage and so forth, so that the linebackers could, use their speed when they were trying to break outside. And all of those guys, great game, great job. And yes, there was something about it. You and I talked about it after the game, that there was just something about the toughness, the level of toughness on the defense in this particular game. Kearney's a very physical team. Imagine being an opposing coach or player and watching the film of the Kearney Bulldogs. Well, it came up a notch last week.
Yep, I think for sure. It just, we want them to play at that level all the time, but obviously the bigger the games, the bigger the moments, those kind of things are going to happen. And just, again, so proud of the way our defense plays team defense, and they understand doesn't matter who gets the stats, because on some other teams they may line up a Beaver at a weak side end every time, and he ends the year with 12 sacks and a bunch of quarterback pressures, but you may still give up 20 points a game. So our kids understanding that, and those guys understanding what their roles are, and we just do such a good job defensively of playing with leverage, understanding team defense, where I don't have to make the tackle, I just have to do my job, and I trust whoever's job it is going to be on that play to make tackles. And I think they have so much trust in each other that you don't see them trying to do other people's jobs. They know their role, and they know how the team defense works.
Absolutely.
And we've mentioned your defensive line, your linebackers, and some of your corners now. Your safeties played pretty well too. Saw Connor Reed in there. He didn't mind getting his nose dirty, knocked away a couple passes. Tell me, on that perspective, what are the safeties reading with all that activity going on in the running game?
Yeah, we gave Connor Reed a huge shout out. That, like last year, at times he had a nickname that I won't mention right now, but gosh dang it, Connor Reed. And he was so determined to not have that nickname anymore, which is going to stick with him forever. But now he's calling the whole secondary. He's getting us lined up. He's just so much more confident back there. He can get us into coverage. He can, so he's just so much more vocal. And he was voted team captain. I think it was a huge step. And I think the last month and a half here, he is really starting to come down and put pads on people, as you said. Like, there were early in the year, felt there were some times where he could have put more pads into it, and now he is throwing it in there. It's like he comes down and it's like, who was that? Connor. Hey, now he's obviously gotten really comfortable within the defense and knowing, when it's go time to come downhill, I get most of the times the safety. You're unblocked, come down and punish people, and I think Ashton Bringus has done the same. Right. I think you guys should have seen his progression. Yes. From like week one. He looks like a little timid junior back there in his first start, who now he's fully confident. He's flying all over the field. So I think we've definitely seen a progression in both of those kids, and they're playing at a high level right now.
Yeah, Reed, Bringus, and Damian Carter, Brad Dahl. I mean, when I look at those names, they remind me of a year or so ago, and they were all kind of young guys, just, up-and-coming players, and they're in there driving the truck now. Right. I mean, they're behind the wheel, and you can tell they know exactly where they're going, and I think that makes a big difference the second year you're playing, especially starting, when you understand the playbook.
Yeah, and with that being said, huge shout-out to Damian Carter as well. When we left him on an island all night, we knew they were going to throw fade balls at the time, especially on 4th and 1, we're going to load the box, so he's out there all by himself, and on that play that they did throw that, last year, maybe in the beginning of this year, that ball's caught or he's going to get a pass interference call. You can see how much confidence he has now. He's playing at a high level. He was in phase. He makes a perfect play on it. No PI. We get off the field. So that was a huge confidence builder for him, and he's playing at that level now as well.
I do want to talk about Warrensburg here in a minute, but I just, when I look at the rushing yards, let's see, Kearney Bulldogs 181 rushing yards and receiving yards 124. I mean, yes, you ran it more than you threw it, but that's kind of a balanced night in a way. You look at it and you're thinking, boy, just keep doing that and throw when you need to and run the ball, always.
Yeah, 300 yards offense against that defense is you had a night. We would have liked to put more points on, but same time that team was giving up 8 points a game throughout the season with 4 or 5 shutouts. So I was just pleased other than, coming out there at half, back-to-back 3-and-outs, which props to those guys. They made some adjustments, and they came out ready to play in that second half, which showed they were a good football team. But just super efficient offensively. And, again, that was a team that doesn't give up points. And, you can get to 24, and we could have had more than what we did.
And I just let's go ahead and talk about the let's do a play of the game. Brian says, yep. When he says show the play of the game, I show the play of the game. Go, buddy.
Carter Temple takes a snap, fakes the handoff, looks to throw, looking downfield, has an open receiver on the near side with all kinds of running room. That is going to be Drew Nelson. He breaks a tackle. He's at the 10, and he is pushed out of bounds at the 5-yard line.
4.6 seconds to go, or is that 46 seconds? I like that even better.
What a play that time by the Kearney offense, getting that out to Drew Nelson, the big tight end, able to show some athleticism and sprint down the sideline.
Mike, I'll say this to you, it's 46 seconds, but if it was 4.6, I ask, does it matter?
Yeah, I would agree.
First down for your Kearney Bulldogs. They have 1st and goal to go at the 6-yard line. 46 seconds left to go. Kearney comes to the line. They adjust their formation. Carter Temple takes the snap, hands off, Lindy, reverse back to the other side. That's him.
He's in.
And he's going to roll into the touchdown.
Outstanding.
Hand off to Lindsey to Emmons. Emmons in for the touchdown, and they score with 40 seconds left to go.
Little double reverse, an inside reverse. It was just outstanding, Kelly. So beautifully executed. Go ahead, sir.
It sure was. Great job by Emmons getting in there on that touchdown.
That was fun. All right, that was fun. Wow, Coach, what about it?
Yeah, those were just back-to-back plays where, as you can see, we knew they were a super aggressive defense. So you get them with the tight end throw back there, and again, we already talked about it, the slight adjustment Carter and Drew made there, and then come right back with the double handoff, which is a counter play. The defense is going to over-pursue to the first handoff and come out the back door, and that was a big moment. I had to make sure. I didn't know if Drew got out of bounds or not, so I don't know if you guys saw me. I ran all the way down there like the 10-yard line, and the refs were like, get off the field. They didn't signal whether it was in bounds or out of bounds. But at that point, there's 40 seconds left, so you're nervous running it there, but we still had a timeout. That's why I need to know if Drew got out of bounds or not. But that was a play we had ran earlier for a decent gainer, and I knew we had pounded it in several times there to the left, and we could hit that counter back to the right, and great blocking by the guys up front. And on that play, you'll notice, too, how unselfish our quarterback is. Once the first handoff happens, he leads through on that and blocks as well. So really good play by Corbin. But, again, that was one we sent it in. I didn't know if Corbin was going to be at the left wing or the right wing. Those guys kind of go. And so that added a touchdown to Corbin's total, but it could have been any of the 3 backs.
Well, outstanding, and so much fun to watch it again. And can you tell that we're having fun up in the booth? I mean, it's hard to contain ourselves. Let's take a real quick break, and we'll come back, and then we'll talk about Warrensburg. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the Coach Minnick Show.
The air you breathe inside your home plays a critical role in your overall health and wellness. Harmful contaminants like asbestos, lead, and mold or hidden hazards that can be lurking in your home or office. Since 2013, the indoor air quality experts at EcoSafe Environmental Services have been detecting and eliminating harmful contaminants, improving indoor air quality, and creating safe, healthy living spaces. You can learn more at 816-598-4111 or at ecosafekc.com. You deserve a healthy home. Stay safe with EcoSafe.
Hey, Outlaw Jim here to tell you about Nextran GMC. Are you tired of confusing prices with advertised rebates that you don't qualify for? And what are all those extra fees added on at the end? At Nextran GMC, they believe buying your next vehicle should be simple and straightforward. Their transparent buying process is designed to save you time and money with no surprises. It's easy, it's honest, and it's all for you. Visit them at nextrangmc.com or take a short drive on 435. They don't just look different than other dealers, they are.
Reagan National Airport outside Washington, D.C. were shut down for hours tonight. It comes after American Airlines says a plane blew out several tires after landing.
Flight 1551 blew one of its tires during takeoff.
4 tires blew out.
A disabled aircraft on the runway can easily shift from a simple inconvenience to an airport operations nightmare. The unfortunate outcome can often lead to a complete airport closure and, in some cases, significant airport financial losses. The solution is easy: Planesgate. Planesgate was designed as a simple, innovative method of removing disabled aircraft from your runway, quickly, safely, and efficiently. Planesgate is manufactured for both civilian and military aircraft. The sturdy design makes quick work of moving everything from corporate jets, turboprops, large, medium, and small piston twins, and almost every single-engine aircraft, including tailwheel and warbirds. Planesgate is extremely versatile and easy to use on multiple airport surfaces. Planesgate traverses large runway cracks, sand, dirt, and gravel with ease. Potholes, ice, snow, and grass are no challenge to Planesgate's mobility. And best of all, in most cases, you can clear a runway in less than 15 minutes with Planesgate. Now that's a game changer that'll keep your runway open. Discover more about keeping your airport operations running smoothly. Visit Planesgate.com and keep that runway open.
Dings, dents, or a full-on fender bender. When life happens to your car, you can trust the team that's been fixing it right for over 40 years. At CarStar Porter's Kearney Body Shop, expert collision repair, precision paint matching, and detailing come standard with customer care that goes the extra mile. CarStar Porter's Kearney Body Shop, 816-628-5621, or you can stop in for a repair estimate at 104 West Main Street in Kearney. CarStar Porter's Kearney Body Shop, where your car gets the care it deserves.
Every minute of every day, we reach your audience. On air, online, and in more places than any other media. Prime Broadcast Group. Exactly where you need to be.
Kelly Gentry here with junior offensive lineman J.D. Romero. Kearney able to win this district title game over number 2 ranked Savannah by a score of 24-0. And J.D., first thing I wanted to ask you, how does it feel to be a district champion?
Feels really good. You know, we put in all this work over the summer and throughout the season, and it just feels good to see the outcome of what all our hard work can do.
Well, Coach described some of these games as a fist fight in a phone booth. On the offensive line tonight, Savannah had an attacking defensive line. Talk to us a little bit about how you were able to contain them tonight.
You know, it was definitely tough, but you know, we just follow our rules like Coach Beckes always teaches us, and then we just let our running backs do their thing.
Well, whatever you did tonight, it sure worked. Kearney averaged tonight over 8 yards a carry on the evening against a really tough defense that was only allowing 7 points per game coming into tonight. Talk to us a little bit about the performance and what you think about that.
I think we did pretty good, you know. There are definitely some things we can fix, and we'll get that fixed for next week. But right now, celebrate a little bit and then get focused for the next game. I think our running backs did an amazing job. The blocks weren't always the cleanest, but they found a way to get amazing yards.
Yeah. Well, how do you like the defense holding them to a goose egg tonight? Let's throw it over to the other side of the ball. The defensive line doing a super job as well.
I love my defensive line. I love my defense. They're the reason we're so good. Going against them in practice every day, oh my gosh. It's a little bit of punishment, but a lot of reward.
Probably the best defensive lineman and best offensive lineman you guys go against, right, is each other.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Congratulations on the district championship. Kearney defeats Savannah, the number 2 ranked team in the state. Kearney remains undefeated, wins 24-0 for this district title.
Welcome back to the Coach Minnick Show. Great to hear JD leave a little room for improvement. I like that. He said the blocks weren't always all that clean, and I'm not sure if he meant that he got a little dirty in there or what, but nice that he left some room for improvement.
Yeah, and we definitely had several things we needed to clean up and fix from there, but as we've mentioned several times, that is a really, really, really good defense. And so, you know, when you've got good players like that and you're well coached defensively as they are, they're going to make plays at times. You know, they watch film and they game plan as well. So I'm proud of the way our kids played. JD, I'm so proud of the way he's progressed this year. This is his first year ever playing offensive line as well. And no, he wasn't real fired up about making that move when we initially brought it to him, but he was one that said, well, I said, do you want to be on the field or, you know, you rotate? And he was like, oh, I want to be on the field. I said, well, I've got a nice guard spot right here for you. You can play every down. And he's really bought into that, and he's figured out that you can be just as physical and punish people on the offensive line as you do on the defensive line. And he's been an absolute road grader for us all year. And I love that he mentioned, and we've mentioned on the show several times about those guys going against each other in practice. It's iron sharpening iron. We get better throughout the year because he does have to go and try to block our defensive line. And our defensive line has to try to, work through our offensive line. So, you know, we do get a ton better on the line of scrimmage throughout the year just in practice.
Absolutely. 6'2", 245. I could see every pound of that and possibly more. He's big, and he's an imposing-looking figure.
Yeah, and he's he's played several times at Fargo in the Nationals, and he's a wrestler as well, so he was our heavyweight last year. And we encourage all of our offensive and defensive linemen to go out for wrestling, and you learn so much of, you know, just how your footwork, and balance, and the ability and leverage. And it's okay to put your body on another man's body and find ways to move them and use leverage and those things. And so I think that his wrestling background definitely correlates to him being a really good lineman for us.
Well, it shows.
Yeah, and actually on the wrestling thought there, you actually got a quarterback too that I think is a pretty good wrestler, Coach.
He's okay. You know, he's only won state twice and nationals once, but we love our football wrestlers for sure.
All right, Coach. A Saturday game, that's exciting. If you're playing on Saturdays, that's usually a pretty good sign.
Right.
We've got the Warrensburg Tigers, I believe, from last year, and 8-3 record. They beat Nevada last week, 28-25, slipped by them. And this week we go to their house, and like we did last year, although we went on a Friday night last year, I believe. And that is a very powerful offensive team that will light you up if you're not careful.
Yeah, and as crazy as it sounds, they're better offensively this year than they were last year, even without that phenomenal quarterback they had last year that ran all over the field and made so many plays. But all the skilled kids and all the talent around him were all juniors and sophomores. So they're all back. And I think this year they're more balanced than what it was. It felt like last year you just had to make sure you tried your best to contain that quarterback and stay over the top of things. And this year, which they had this back last year, but this year they've put more focus on running the football. And they've got one of the best backs in the entire state, regardless of class. He's got over 2,000 yards this year. He's got over 4,000 yards in his career. Anytime you start talking those numbers, you've got to be a pretty special player. And so he's definitely somebody we have to know where he's at all times and account for him in the run game. And they're big and they're physical up front. I think they have 4 seniors up front and a senior tailback. So those guys have been playing together. They run a zone scheme, which is kind of get in the way and let the running back do his job, and they're really dang good at it. So we've got to understand and be gap sound and be unselfish. As we said, it's not a game where you can start peeking in the other gap because the back's good enough. As soon as you peek, he's going to hit it vertical there. And then they've got a sophomore quarterback who's playing at a really high level right now. They started the year. They had one of those senior athletes playing quarterback. It was a little, they didn't really like it. They brought this sophomore kid in who, when you guys see him, he looks like Carter Temple. He's 6'3", he's 200 pounds, throws it all over the field, runs pretty well. And for a sophomore, he's making a lot of really good decisions in the pass game because they are still deadly in the pass game. They had a move-in receiver from Texas. You guys will see number 7 is probably the best receiver we've seen all year. So when people ask us about this game, and well, you beat them last year by 35, I was like, this is a completely different team, both sides. And I told somebody a good analogy. It's kind of like, was Savannah a better overall football team? Possibly. But it's kind of like in the NCAA tournament, basketball tournament, they're a worse matchup for us than a Savannah was. Savannah played right into the way we want to play football. Warrensburg wants to spread us out, throw it all over the field. We don't like to be spread out nearly as much as what they're going to do to us, and you've got to have enough in the box to stop a 2,000-yard back, and at the same time cover at least one Division I receiver and probably a Division II or higher level receiver out here and a quarterback that's putting it on the money. So we've got to pick and choose where we do it. We've got to be great with leverage. And then they're going to make some plays. The big thing we've got to do is get it tackled. You know, we talk about that all the time of get it lined up again, and give us a chance because they've got 3 guys on the field that at any point can go the distance and run with. You know, we've got elite team speed. So do they at some skill positions. So we've got that going on defensively that we've got to try to take care of. And then offensively, I think they have 8 starters back from that defense for last year. And that was one of those games where we went 3 yards, and milked that clock and tried to get out of there while trying to keep that offense off the field. But all those kids are now a year bigger, a year stronger. They've got an inside linebacker that's one of the best we've seen all year. They've got probably the best defensive end we have seen all year. Great big athletic kid. So you've got to know where he's at all times or he will wreck the entire game. And then you're going to see 2 corners. We have not seen a ton of press man corner that just take away your receivers out there. Now, I like our chances. We've got guys that can go get it and win. But they're not going to give us the free money we talk about where the free hitches and easy 5 yards. Those aren't there. They're going to close those windows, force you to win one-on-ones or, you know, get in a fist fight in a phone booth and move the chains, you know, piece by piece. So, you know, I've had several people say, it's just Warrensburg. No, it's not just Warrensburg. They're a worse matchup for us than Savannah was.
I see they lost to Odessa, who was a 9-2 school. Now that was in early October, and that might have been that was their last loss. And looking back, some of the earlier losses, I'm thinking that perhaps they played Harrisonville pretty close, 35-28 they lost, and that early one to Smith Cotton may have been where they changed quarterbacks. I'm not sure. I'm going to guess.
Yeah, that week 1 game, they had 5 turnovers, and you guys know anytime you turn it over 5 times, you're not going to win many games there. Now, I will say, shout out to Coach Gray over there. They had a phenomenal game plan for those guys and executed it. over there. But the offense looks a little different now because that athlete that was playing quarterback's now playing receiver. So he's still in the offense. You still have to account for him. But now you've got a point guard back there that's distributing the ball well to the athletes. And then when you have a 2,000-yard back, the receivers get more chances because you got to at times run some single coverage and some of those things. And as you said, so their other 2 losses, once they've kind of become this team, was to an Odessa team that just lost to Hannibal last week in the district championship, and then a Harrisonville team that was 6-3 or 7-2, somewhere in there. And both those games they lost was by 1 score. So it's not like somebody got after them. And if you notice, in every game after week 2, they're scoring in the 20s and 30s and 40s every week. So it's a dang good football team that, as you guys remember with us, we had a sophomore quarterback last year, and how much better Carter was week 12 than he was week 2. So he's came along really well, and you can tell they've put more and more on his plate as the years progressed with just how you have to defend them offensively.
By the time you've played a full season, you're not a rookie anymore.
Right.
And that is obviously going to show. Anything you want to add?
I was just going to say, Coach, with your schedule, though, what you've seen so far kind of will help you in this game going forward. When you played Park Hill, you played it sounds similar to like a North Kansas City is what you're going to see today. Very well-balanced team. So hopefully that preparation, us playing I'm going to say a little bit tougher schedule than maybe Warrensburg has had this year, will hopefully prep us good for this upcoming game.
Yeah, for sure. Our schedule this year was an absolute monster. But as you said, we've seen everything from foot-to-foot running teams to empty 5-wide teams. So that's always awesome where you can go back and pull pieces from game plans you like, things you didn't like that we thought we did. So you'll see a bunch of different game plans incorporated, but it's nice that we have seen spread teams that throw it all over the field or a team that's got a dominant running back, as you said. So we've pulled pieces from those game plans for sure.
Anything that changes significantly, the fact that you have to travel down there, that it's not that far to Warrensburg, let's face it, but does that change anything that you guys do in preparation for the game?
Not really. Obviously, with playing a Saturday versus Friday, our prep's been a little bit different this week. It just kind of pushes everything back a day. We tell our kids, a lot of high school kids don't ever get the opportunity to play on a Saturday, and a lot of our kids won't go on and play college where you do get to play on Saturdays. So we talked all week about how cool it is to earn that privilege to be able to play on Saturday. That's it's like big man football. Like and the only reason we didn't play Warrensburg on Saturday last year, UCM was in the playoffs and had a playoff game the same time that the high school game would have been, and they didn't want to divide fans between, especially there in Warrensburg, between the two. So we played Friday last year. But it's Saturday this year.
All right, Coach. Wow, very exciting game coming up, and you like them when they're competitive. I mean, we've gone through a few blowouts this season, and this ain't going to be one of them. And it sounds like we got our work cut out for us on Saturday. So we'll see you all down there. It's the Bulldogs versus the Tigers in Warrensburg, and starts at 1 o'clock. I think the weather's going to be, from what I can tell right now, going to be pretty reasonable. Great day for football, and everybody show up. I know you will, and we'll see you down there at Warrensburg. Thanks so much for being with us. We'll see you next week on the Coach Minnick Show.